Good to talk. Welcome back to this show. Uh, it's currently the start of spooky season, so I figured we would talk about some magical stuff because that's inherently scary. Uh, so well, let's start off with me kind of explaining what Homo Magi are. Homo Magi are a subset of humans where magic comes easier to them. Um, so, like, a regular guy can do magic, it's just harder for them when compared to a Homo Magi. Yeah. Yeah. Hence why most human characters, like Batman, for example, don't use magic. So, but other than magi, we have a few other, let's say, magical species. Uh, like the witch folk. Now, if you couldn't tell by the name, the witch folk are witches. Uh, the witch folk that we know the most is the witch folk from Limbo Town, and that's where Clarion the Witch Boy is from. Uh, they usually have pale blue skin, and their naming convention is name, witch, then their gender. So, for example, mine would be Peter Witch Boy. Yeah, yeah. So they live in between the crust and the second layer of the planet. So they're also not getting much oxygen. Their pale blue skin is caused by them not having any human ancestry. Note that not all witch folk have pale blue skin, just the ones in Limbo Town do. Some witches have like green skin, for examples, and depending on where they live, and they're obviously tied into magic. They're called witch folk for a reason. Uh, so, of course, you'll have, well, demons in the DC universe because the DC universe is big and it nearly did everything underneath the sun at this point. So, it's not a shocker that they're tied into magic. They a lot of the time they just don't bother people, but I think that's mostly because most writers don't want to touch that with a 6 feet pole. Um, but let's get to something more interesting. Like the imps who are from the fifth dimension. They're fifth dimensional creatures. Their weakness most of the time is saying their name backwards. They have 4 limbs, 2 arms, 2 legs. But when you get to their fingers, they have 8 of those, and they also have 8 toes. Imps are the same people throughout the multiverse. So, for example, Mr. Mixio's pick shows up in one TV show and shows up in a different TV show. That's still the same character, and it's supposed to be the same version. I don't know what DC has with trying to make these characters be one version all of a sudden. That was a really weird time. So, Mr. Lee, Mr. Mixley pick is probably the one that you know the most, given that he appeared in like most Superman media. But that's enough about fifth dimensional imps and them being on a near like godlike plane. We do have humans, but I kind of touched on them earlier in the video already, so I will not reiterate what I already said. Funny thing about sorcerers, witches, warlocks, and wizards, and many other things with magic and names like that, that just means in the DC universe, they have a connection in the capacity to do magic. So it's not necessarily that all of these titles are different. They basically just mean the same thing, just with different fancier titles. Let's go to the video package. Okay, so I would like to show you some examples of what we're talking about in this video. So I'm going to pull up a Homo Magi. What's the most famous example is either Zatanna or Raven. A less popular one would probably be like Black Alice. You have demons. Demons, the most popular one, if I'm remembering correctly, is Etrigan the demon. But you also have people like Neuron, then you have Kid Devil. It's a mess. Then you have the fifth dimensional imps. The most popular one is Mr. Mxyzptlk and Batmite. There's a few others, but I really do not care to look up what their names are because I'm struggling with Mr. Mxyzptlk. So I know you guys make fun of me for all my mispronunciations already, so I don't want to dig my grave 6 feet more. Then you have witch folk, and the most popular one is Clarion the Witch Boy, but you have a few other witches. Like, when I was doing my research, I'm pretty sure it stated that Cersei was considered witch folk. If I read the article correctly.
Short what?
But then you have, well, just regular humans who they don't really use magic. That's like Homo Magi stuff.
Fine.
Then you probably have a few aliens who use magic. I couldn't find any in my research. The closest thing that I got were the imps, but I wouldn't be shocked if there was an alien species based off of magic.
That's fine. Fine.
Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of From Start to...
Okay, welcome to the commercial. If you like learning about some more of the mythos of DC, they're currently releasing a and you also like to read a good story. They're releasing a Superman storyline. What's a black label story? I want to preface. Black label story. Yeah. It's called The Rainbow Kryptonite. The story is about new kryptonite popping up and finding out how they affect Superman, basically. And if it can affect Superman, it will most likely affect any other Kryptonians in the same way. And DC likes writing them as powerful beings, so if you're able to pick it up and read it, I do recommend it, especially if you like learning about different mythologies in this kind of superhero world. So that's basically my recommendation. Now, last things before I go. Thank you for all watching. Thank you for everyone who helped me produce this. I hope you have a good night.
My hobby. Can a total beginner like me really do videos? Let's find out. I've always wanted to try making video, so today I'm diving in completely blind to see if I can figure it out. Here are the gear I bought. Let's see if I can even set it up right. Okay, the instructions say, wait, what? I started to shoot video using my phone and made a mistake on video shaking. From this mistake, I learned that I have to avoid shaking videos and think to put video together by using tripod. Well, it's not perfect, but I made it. This was harder, easier than I thought. My biggest takeaway is using the tripod and using tutorial to learn more about it. Let me know in the comment if you have tried doing videos before and if you enjoyed watching me struggle. Please subscribe, share and comment. Thank you. Can a total beginner like me really do videos? Let's find it. This is a lens. This is a lens, a telephoto lens. This is for photo. Is a speed light. This is the light for videos. And this is the boxes of battery charger. And these are battery charger. These are chargers and the batteries. These are batteries for camera Canon 5D Mark III. Then I've always wanted to try making videos, so today I'm diving a completely brain to see if I can configure it out. Here's the gear I bought. This is the lens of camera. This is the battery charger. This is a light charger. This is a light, and these are the battery. So these are my gear I bought last week. Okay, the instructions say, wait, what? I started to shoot videos using my phone and made the video shaking. From this, I learned a mistake. I learned that I have to avoid shaking video and think to put the video together for one video into Adobe Premiere Pro, so that I can assemble my videos. It's not perfect, but I made it, I think. Yeah, this is my video I did. This is the harder way, easier than I thought. My biggest takeaway is using the Adobe Premiere Pro software, learning and shooting video tutorials. Hey guys, let me know if in the comment if you have tried to make videos before, and if you enjoyed watching me struggle. Please subscribe and make comment. Thank you. Let's do a commercial advertisement. I have a product made with at least 75% recycled fibers. Is a hat, many hat. Is your outfit missing and understand that the hat to show the world here Jordan pride got you. This classic structure fit has a stropped crown and a curved bill for a casual, broken in look, and the metal Jumpman emblem makes a perfectly subtle statement. Color shown, white, gunmetal. Style, FD5186 100. If you need it, free delivery with your Jordan membership. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Peyton, and welcome to episode 3 of From Start to Finish, a show discussing an aspect of gaming known as speedrunning. In the last episode, I showed you a video showcasing tricks in live gameplay from speedrunning, and today's episode will be very similar. However, unlike last episode, you now already understand some of the basic movements and tricks used throughout the course of the run. Today's video will be showing off the next 2 kingdoms of Mario Odyssey, the first of which showcases some new and more complicated tricks that I'll be explaining in the video. Please take a look. Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of From Start to Finish. Today I will be playing more of the game Super Mario Odyssey, the game that I know most well as far as speedrunning goes. And for this video, I'll just be running through the third kingdom of the game, Sand Kingdom, and just showing some more gameplay and tricks that go into speedrunning the game. So first we simply just skip through the dialogue and cutscenes from the previous kingdom that lead us to this one. And then right away, once the dialogue is over, we'll be on a short timer because there's a bird that flies around the kingdom and we have to make sure to catch it on its first cycle immediately. So first we'll run in. Grab the bird. Nice. Then fall into this pipe right here. Do another spin pound buffer from the last episode. Correctly locate the moon as quickly as possible and then exit. So here I will be showing a trick that I personally have not implemented into my runs yet, but this is the trick I teased last time called DST or DSTA or Daylight Savings Time Abuse. So here I'll be doing the trick mid-run, but in actual top runs like the world record run, you'll see them actually set the time before the run starts. So that way, when I go into my system time to change it here, they actually make it so the small little 5-second window that they're in the room I'm going to enter after, daylight savings time happens, and it skips an hour ahead for them. So this seed right here, once it's planted in the pot, takes 20 minutes to fully grow, and then it gives you a moon. So there's two ways you can do this. You can go in your system time and manually change it, or again, set it so that daylight savings time happens, essentially skipping your 20 minutes. So you plant the seed, and then you come down here, enter this room. And now it's at this exact point where people using the daylight savings time trick would leave the room as daylight savings time happens. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to manually go into my system settings to show this off. But yeah, if you just set the time an hour forward, reopen the game, and leave the room, then the seed should be grown. Which it is. So then at this point, you head over here. Locate this moon. Make our way over here. Do another spin pound buffer to immediately go this way. So this is kind of just a movement section. There's not too much to elaborate on that hasn't already been seen. So now we'll do a trick where we actually bait this bullet bill to follow us over this jump. So that way, the second we grab the moon, we can turn around and immediately take control of it. Which will allow us to come grab this moon over here. come up here, grab this moon. Then we jump over this way, dodge that bullet bill, control this one, grab the moon hidden in the block here. And next we'll be doing, after a couple precise jumps here, a special jump that will take us out of the bounds of the game. So we come down here. Might take me a couple tries, I haven't done this in a while. Here. And just like that, using the platform, we've clipped out of the map. Then we need to carefully grab this moon without clipping back through the wall. So that way we can go back here and trigger this loading zone behind the actual intended entrance. So normally to enter that room, you would have to answer a riddle from this Sphinx here and it will move out of its way. But behind it is what's called a loading zone, which is essentially the area you touch that tells the game to load you into that area. It's very common in a lot of speedruns to abuse these loading zones and find ways to get to these areas the game doesn't quite intend you to load into them prematurely. So here we'll have a funny sequence where you actually see me walk out of the Sphinx because the game obviously does not intend for you to take the route that I did. And then all we have to simply do is the second we land, open up the mini-map to make sure we teleport immediately, and that is the entirety of the third kingdom done. This is one of the longest kingdoms in the game. This one is more than both of the first ones I showed you combined, but after this, it definitely shrinks down in how long each kingdom takes. Alright, I will now also show off a portion of the next kingdom, if not the whole kingdom, Lake Kingdom. It's a relatively simple kingdom as far as mechanisms go, so there won't be a lot of explaining. However, the boss fight that happens at the end of the kingdom, I would like to show because it's just a fun boss fight. You utilize certain timings where the boss doesn't actually have a hitbox to clip inside of it, and then do a jump out of him the second he's able to be hit again. So all we have to do is line up for this jump here. Skip a large portion of the kingdom, go straight into this boss fight here. That, as you can see, with correct timing, we literally clip into the boss, stall in the air, and then hit his head the second it is even available to be hit. Also, probably the shortest boss in the entire run. Alright, then all we have to do is jump left, deposit the moons into the Odyssey, and just like that, that is 2 entire more kingdoms of the game done. There is a total of 14, I believe, different timestamps that you do in the run. So at this point, this would be roughly 20% into the run, I would say, give or take. With that, I'll leave this episode, or this video package of from start to finish here. In the final episode, I will likely show off the very ending segment of the game. I might do a few of my favorite tricks or whatever from kingdoms throughout the whole run, just a short little montage, and then show off the very end of the game and where the run actually concludes. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. Okay. Now that you've seen the next two kingdoms, you can see that the tricks have definitely gotten more complicated than they were in the first episode, but I can assure you it's for a good reason. The fact they're so complicated is what makes speedrunning such an entertaining and popular niche, and tricks like this save countless amounts of time across runs. Next, I would like to give a word from today's sponsor, YouTube. I'm sure all of you have heard of YouTube by now, but today I'll be talking about their premium membership service. For $13.99 a month, you can enjoy YouTube with no ads whatsoever, as well as getting access to downloading videos to watch offline. It can be used as a music service, entertainment for those long road trips with no service, and guarantees smooth playback. In addition, they also have their Smart Downloads feature, which if enabled will download recommended videos for you without you needing to do a thing, meaning if you suddenly find yourself without good connection, you can have hours of preloaded quality content ready to watch. Again, that's $13.99 for the individual plan, or $22.99 a month if a family plan works better for you. Thanks again, YouTube, for sponsoring this broadcast. And with that, I will wrap up this episode here. Next week will be the final episode. I hope you look forward to it, and I hope you enjoyed this one from start to finish.
When it comes to intensity, energy, and raw emotion in music, few bands stand out like Slipknot. Formed in Des Moines, Iowa in 1995, Slipknot is not just known for their aggressive sound, but also for their chaotic live performances, distinct masks, and powerful lyrics that tap into pain, anger, and identity. Blending elements of heavy metal, nu metal, and alternative rock, Slipknot has built a massive global fan base and pushed the boundaries of what metal music can be. Today we'll take a closer look at the band's history, unique style, and long-lasting impact on the music world. Hi, I'm Ross Pomplin, and this is episode 4 of Rock and Roll History, and today we're going to be taking a deep dive into Slipknot. When we talk about Slipknot, we often think of the masks, the chaos, and the sound. But behind the masks are real people with powerful stories that have shaped who they become. Corey Taylor, the band's lead vocalist, was born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. He had a tough upbringing, raised mostly by his single mother and later his grandmother, who introduced him to classic rock and helped him to buy his first equipment. Corey battled through trauma, addiction, and depression before finding his voice through music. Sean Clown Crayon, best known the band's percussionist and founding member, also grew up in Des Moines. He was encouraged artistically from a young age, spending time immersed in visual art and music. He attended Catholic school for over a decade, which added discipline to his chaotic creative energy. Joey Jordison, Slipknot's original drummer, started drumming at just 8 years old. After his parents divorced, he lived with his mother and 2 siblings, working late-night jobs while chasing his dream. His passion for drumming helped to find Slipknot's early sound, fast, precise, and brutal. Jim Root, one of the band's guitarists, had a quiet upbringing and didn't speak much growing up. He developed his musical talent in private, and it became his outlet. He joined Slipknot a bit later. His heavy rips became their signature sound. Mick Thompson, the other guitarist, was a loner growing up, obsessed with death metal and playing guitar for hours a day. He worked at a local guitar shop before joining the band, where he became known for his aggressive, down-tuned style. Sid Wilson, the DJ, had a strong love for hip-hop and punk growing up. Born in Iowa, he brought the scratching, chaos, and stage-diving energy that pushed Slipknot into new territory. Craig Jones, also known as 133, was originally the band's guitarist but shifted to samples and electronics. A quite tech-savvy kid, he added the eerie atmospheres and horror film soundscapes that helped define their dark aesthetic. Alessandro Venturella, the bassist, grew up in the UK and worked as a guitar tech for major bands before joining Slipknot. His technical skills and experience behind the scenes gave him a unique edge when he stepped into the spotlight. Jay Weinberg is the drummer who replaced Joey Jordison, and is the son of Max Weinberg from Bruce Springsteen's band, the E Street Band. Growing up around music, Jay developed an incredible skill at a young age, blending punk roots with metal intensity. And the last member, Michael Pfaff, also known as Tortilla Man, came from the classic music background, earning degrees in music before joining Slipknot. His academic foundation and wild energy on stage made him one of the most surprising members in the group. Slipknot's journey to fame wasn't overnight. It was built on raw energy, rebellion, and relentless work ethic. The band was formed in Des Moines, Iowa in 1995, a place not known for producing major metal acts, but that isolation pushed them to create some of the most totally unique, mixing metal, hip-hop, industrial, and horror influences while wearing terrifying masks and matching jumpsuits. The early days were gritty. They self-released a demo called Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat in 1996, which began to attract underground attention. But things really shifted when producer Ross Robinson, known for his work with Korn and Limp Bizkit, took interest. That led to their first official self-titled album, released in 1999 under Roadrunner Records. The album exploded. Songs like Wait and Bleed and Spit It Out combined aggression with catchiness, and their chaotic live shows became legendary. They didn't just perform, they attacked the stage with 9 members, fire, jumps, and total mayhem. By the early 2000s, Slipknot became one of the biggest names in metal. Their follow-up albums like Iowa and Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, proved they weren't a gimmick. They were musicians with something real to say. Their blend of brutal sound and emotional honesty resonated with millions, turning Slipknot into a global phenomenon. From small-town outsiders to headlining festivals worldwide, Slipknot's rise was fueled by pain, passion, and the power of unapologetically different music. After their massive success in 1999, Slipknot had the world's attention, but the band wasn't interested in going mainstream. Instead, they dove deeper into their darkest emotions, and out of that came Iowa, their second studio album. The writing and recording process began in late 2000 and carried into 2001. During this time, the band was under intense pressure, constant touring, rising fame, and personal tensions were wearing at them. Many of the members have since said that Iowa was created during one of the most toxic periods in their lives. The album was officially released on August 28, 2001. It was heavier, darker, and more aggressive than their debut, filled with themes of pain, anger, addiction, and self-destruction. Songs like People Equal Shit and Disaster Piece and Left Behind showcased a raw brutality that pushed the limits of what mainstream metal could sound like. Despite, or maybe because of how intense it was, Iowa was a massive success. It debuted number 3 on the Billboard 200 and topped charts in the UK and other countries. Critics were shocked, fans were blown away, and Slipknot proved they weren't just a passing trend. They were a force that metal could no longer ignore. So while Iowa was born out of internal struggle and darkness, it marked a moment for Slipknot that truly cemented their legacy in heavy metal music. After the brutal chaos of Iowa, Slipknot hit a breaking point. The band took a long break. Some members worked on side projects like Stone Sour and Murder Dolls, while others battled personal demons, including addiction and burnout. For a while, fans weren't even sure if Slipknot would return. But by 2003, the band came back with a new mindset and a desire to evolve. They teamed up with the legendary producer Rick Rubin and began recording what would become Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses. The recording process was different this time, more experimental, more open. For the first time, Slipknot began incorporating clean vocals, acoustic guitars, and more melodic songwriting alongside their signature aggressions. Tracks like Duality, Vermilion, and Before I Forget showed a new side of the band. The album was officially released on May 25, 2004, and it marked a turning point. It debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, and the song Before I Forget went on to win Slipknot their first Grammy Award. Volume 3 wasn't just a comeback, it was a reinvention. It proved that Slipknot could grow without losing their identity, blending melody and brutality in a way that reached both longtime fans and new audiences. This album solidified Slipknot's place not just in metal, but in modern rock history. By the time Slipknot began to work on All Hope Is Gone, the band had already established themselves as one of the biggest forces in heavy music. It was 2007, and after the success of Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, the band regrouped to write and record their 4th studio album, this time with even more creative freedom. Recording took place in early 2008 at a studio in Iowa, their home state. The atmosphere was intense, tensions were high, creative disagreements were constant, and the band was starting to feel the weight of their success. Despite the internal friction, they pushed forward and channeled that energy into the music. All Hope Is Gone was officially released on August 26, 2008. It was their most diverse album yet, combining brutal tracks like Gematria, The Killing Name, and All Hope Is Gone, with more melodic experimental songs like Snuff and Dead Memories. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, making it Slipknot's first number 1 album in the US. It showed that even with internal struggles, they were capable of producing something powerful, emotional, and widely impactful. Sadly, this would be the last album to feature both Paul Gray and Joey Jordison in the band. Paul passed away in 2010, and Joey was later dismissed in 2013. Looking back, All Hope Is Gone marked the end of an era, a final chapter of the original Slipknot lineup and at the height of their power. After the release of the All Hope Is Gone album in 2008, Slipknot faced one of the darkest periods in their history. In 2010, tragedy struck when bassist Paul Gray, one of the founding members and emotional core of the band, passed away from a drug overdose. His death devastated the group and cast serious doubt on their future. For a while, Slipknot went mostly silent. They toured occasionally, but the energy wasn't the same. Then, in 2013, another shock hit. Longtime drummer Joey Jordison was unexpectedly dismissed from the band. Fans were stunned, and Slipknot was suddenly missing 2 of its most iconic members. But rather than collapse, the band used that pain as fuel. They entered the studio in early 2014 with a renewed sense of purpose. With new bassist Alessandro Venturella and drummer Jay Weinberg, Slipknot began recording what would become Point Five, The Gray Chapter, an album dedicated to Paul Gray's memory. The album was officially released on October 21st, 2014. It was heavy, emotional, and raw. Songs like Devil and I, Custer, and Skeptic carried grief, rage, and reflection. The album showed a more mature yet still brutal Slipknot, one that had survived loss, change, and uncertainty. Point Five, The Gray Chapter debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, proving that even after everything, Slipknot was far from finished. This album wasn't just a return, it was a tribute, a rebirth, and a powerful reminder of the band's resilience. From 2015 onward, Slipknot entered a period of both consolidation and evolution. They were still touring heavily. Festivals like Knotfest, Aftershock, and international shows kept them visible to old fans and new. In 2017, they released The Day of Gusano, live in Mexico, a live album and film documentary of one of their shows in Mexico City. It was important because it was the first live release featuring new lineup members, bassist Alessandro Venturella and drummer Jay Weinberg, after major changes in the band. Then came We Are Not Your Kind, their 6th studio album, released on August 9th, 2019. This was a significant turning point. It was the first album after the firing of Chris Fiend in March 2019 over a legal dispute, so the band recorded this as an 8-member group. The album debuted on number 1 in the US Billboard 200 and topped several other charts globally, showing that even after lots of change, Slipknot still had major commercial strength. And musically, it blended aggression with melody, electronics, choir-like backing vocals, and strong production, showing ambition and willingness to stretch beyond their earlier pure brutality. After We Are Not Your Kind, the band continued to tour and stay active, and then in 2022, they released The End So Far. The End So Far is their 7th studio album, released on September 30th, 2022. It was the last album under Roadrunner Records, which had been their label since early in their career. Also, the album marked further lineup changes. It was the first with percussionist Michael Pfaff fully in, and later, sampler keyboardist Craig Jones and drummer Jay Weinberg both departed in 2023. Most recently, in 2024, Slipknot launched the Here Comes the Pain tour, which also doubles as a 25-year anniversary celebration for their self-titled debut. For that tour, they're doing special set lists featuring a lot of material from the debut, showing a reflection on their legacy and roots. Overall, from 2015 to today, Slipknot has shown resilience, dealing with loss, legal issues, and lineup shifts, but also growth. They've continued to produce music, experiment with their sound, and honor their past while still moving forward. In the end, Slipknot is just more than a band. They're a powerful force of raw emotion, creativity, and resilience. From their humble beginnings in Des Moines, Iowa, to becoming global metal icons, they've never been afraid to confront pain, chaos, and darkness head on. Their music connects with millions because it's honest, intense, and unapologetically real. Through tragedy, change, and evolution, Slipknot has proven that true strength comes from embracing your identity, masks and all, and turning it into something unforgettable. They've left an undeniable mark on music and culture, inspiring fans to find power in their struggles and to never back down.